lessons learned and driving knowledge and education. But the most important point was to the collaboration among all the stakeholders, care practitioners to across domains. Also, the EU for Health, an inclusive EU, the new program is stressing again the digital transformation in healthcare. You know, all this is also, sorry, I have to remove this, is also at the same time opening an issue, as the WHO was sort of stressing the risk attached to the use of AI technologies, from biases encoded in algorithms, unethical data collection practices, going down to cybersecurity issues. And one point very important was that the report advised that the human autonomy should be protected by keeping people in control of medical decision-making and ensuring that AI-based devices are used only under certain conditions. I mentioned, I was listening to the previous presentation, soliciting the problem of the ethics, the bias, the transparency, and in the healthcare system, this is a really major issue. So let me go down. Okay, let me go here. Okay. I think I went down, two down. Doesn't move. Okay. I'm using this project that is a major project, the European project that started in 2020, and where we were using multi-omics analysis, big data, and machine learning-based disease support systems. This is really where we were growing throughout all these issues, going from the use of these systems in the healthcare and having the medical doctors, I'm a medical doctor too, and the patients sort of intriguing and not very comfort on using the system that was not completely understandable. So the so-called black boxes was a major problem. This study sees involved six member states, Spain, Italy, Germany, Luxembourg, Romania, and Sweden. And there are 25 centers involved, very important. Most of them are clinical centers. Which was the challenge? The challenge was understanding at system level the pathophysiology of metastatic colorectal cancer in patients responding well or poorly to therapy, in order to design an optimal strategy for metastatic colorectal cancer on a case-by-case basis, with therapeutic interventions modulated depending on patients' features. And the main target was to develop and improve an innovative model of combinatorial therapy based on a personalized medical approach that identifies the most efficient and cost-effective therapeutic intervention for patients with unresectable metastatic colorectal cancer. REVERT, this was the beginning, built an innovative artificial intelligence AI-based decision support system using a network of biobanks and the experience of the real-world data of several general hospitals operating in the EU healthcare system. This is, I have to remove this little guy here. No, that doesn't go away. This is the graphical representation of the project design. So we had a lot of data, structured data from the biobank and unstructured data from the real world data, which were used using NLP systems. These were used to do retrospective studies and to train the artificial intelligence systems to be able to see if we were able to stratify the population based well responder versus no responders. Of course, also next generation sequencing was used as the data included, and the tumor organoids were used as a parallel study to see if what we were seeing in the retrospective and most important on the validation clinical trial, which was the major point for this project, were really sort of another approach to see if what we were seeing in the clinical trial, we also were able to see in an in vitro study. The clinical trial, the validation clinical trial was the main issue. All the medical doctors were saying, okay, retrospective studies are fantastic. We can see potentially usable, potentially stratifying, potentially improving, but all the time we are saying potentially. We wanted to see if we, as a proof of concept, if going to in the clinical trial, we were able to improve the outcome of patients. Now, of course, principal data protection was one of the main issues that I'm not going through all this. All of us know very well this issue. But DPIA was the first step, risk assessment, going up to the joint controller agreement. So a lot of documents. And this is the REVERT architecture. The REVERT architecture was one of the main issues. This major database, data lake, with a lot of lawyers, we define which was the more secure way to store the data. And we end up at the end, we end up using a cloud, a certified cloud, because it was giving us all the security certification and was also a sort of neutral component for all the centers. So we started on the database, data lake, and we went to, the main point was retrospective clinical studies to see the performance of the machine learning approach. And then using all the systems, we were able to develop and validate preclinically with retrospective data. We went to the clinical study. Now, this defined computational framework, AI-based, was used to evaluate its impact on survival and quality of life in a prospective clinical trial. Now, the main issue for all of us was, how can a doctor use a system, not knowing why the system tells him this patient will respond well, or this patient will not respond well, or this is going to be the best treatment you can use? So the first question was, we need to have interpretability of the prediction of this medical application, of this ML prediction. So this was the beginning, and we were able to reach the explainable AI, and this was used to gaining the trust of clinicians in the use of AI algorithms for a personalized therapeutic intervention. Now, this is now one of the significant obstacles, in fact, for all of us to wide adoption of this system. It was their opacity, which undermines clinicians' trust. In this way, explainable AI was the current approach that to gaining the trust of clinicians, and most important, also the patients, and was extremely promising. So we reached this point. We were able to reach explainable machine learning models. And at this point, the clinical study, the proof of concept clinical study started. But another point which was very important for us is that it was taking into consideration what we know regarding diagnostic. When we are doing diagnostic and we are studying biomarkers, normally if we have more than one biomarker, we feel more confident. Normally there is a panel of biomarkers. This was the same way we approach with the AI systems. Instead, using only one system, the four major centers who had the algorithms ready were used to have more than one algorithm together. So we were calling this multi-party responsibility sharing AI algorithms for a personalized therapeutic intervention. And also this one was very important for the physicians, because they saw, this is the situation, for the applications able to extract their results, and that with mathematical interventions, which I'm not going to discuss because I'm not the expert, I'm the medical portion. We had at the end the final response considering all four of them. The other point, very important, was another approach. When we are studying, evaluating retrospective data, which means we have all the data, we know the outcome of the patients, if they respond very well or not very well, or they did not respond at all to the treatment. we know the answer, but we will never be able to see which could have been with using another treatment, because this is impossible. So the idea of the group of the AI people was to really reapproach in a different way the retrospective data. And that was a novel approach, drug rankers over historical cases, solve a major obstacle for using retrospective patients, proposing a way to rank treatments in training and by introducing two novel measures, average ranking score and soft average ranking score. To evaluate these novel drug rankers over historical cases, we categorize these novel drug DRC methods into predictor-based and selector-based family. And the latter was the most important one. So we also changed a little the way to approach the evaluation of the retrospective data to have an improvement of the ability of the artificial intelligence to stratify the patient's response. The major obstacle, many of you before me, the speakers before me presented, is the ethical portion. Ethics is a very main issue in the health system. So we have a lot of guidelines. There is the AI Act. I know that Francesco also mentioned the AI Act, which is the first regulatory in the world, regulation in the world. And all of them are saying, no, just be very careful. And one very important point is human should be not overseen, refers to involvement of human actors in developing and using AI systems to ensure that they respect human dignity, autonomy, and values. Now, there are different degrees depending on the context and purpose of the AI systems. The human can be in the loop, on the loop, which means now they can, the first case, human can intervene and modify the AI outcome. Human on the loop, in this case, can monitor and stop the AI system. But what we are saying as a medical doctor, humans should be in command, because human has the ultimate authority and responsibility of an AI system. In this case, for us, is the most important point, because there are responsibilities very important. We are the people who are talking to the patients. Patients is trusting the doctor. Doctor must trust the AI system, but must be the person, the one who is going to give the final response and the final, let's say, decision. This is very important. When I click this, I have to move this one. So, this cosa qui andiamo qui che in fondo. Sorry, this, I don't know why I cannot move this little big guy here. Does it move again?
Yeah, Professor Firola, can you change your slides?
I'm trying to change the slides, but the point is I cannot.
Yeah, we can see the 1 and 2, and when you click on the 1 and 2, the slides will be allowed to the change.
Okay, but this is okay. This is final. Okay, and that's the WHO report that advised the human autonomy should be protected. So this was for us explainable AI together with multi-party responsibility sharing AI algorithms and clinicians in command, represented for the REVERT approach. The goal to gaining the trust of clinicians and patients. And I would like to thank also the REVERT scientists who participated, which are many of us. Thank you for your attention.